One book from here. Hello and welcome to this week's reading vlog. So I decided to do something different for this mini vlog. I went with my children to the library, and in my library they have a section of what the librarian that day sort of recommends so that people can browse easily and grab one. When I worked at the library, this was my favorite part of my job, was to arrange the, recommendation shelves, particularly, especially when I was working as a children librarian that day, because in the kids section, I would always do like some sort of cool theme. I'd either do like a rainbow theme, or I'd do a really cool color aesthetic, or I'd do books all about mermaids. That was the most fun. I just loved putting up a really beautiful, eye-catching display. So what we've done is I've picked a book, my daughter's picked a book, and my other daughter's picked a book. So we've both just grabbed books based on the covers that caught our attention, or perhaps for me, maybe the title of the book. And I'm going to read all three and see which one of us picked the best one from the library's recommendations. So my youngest daughter picked this one, and it says, "Soon you will become the thing all other beasts fear. Treasure and her mother lost everything when Treasure's daddy died. Haggling for scraps in the market, Treasure meets a spirit who promises to bring her father back, but she has to do something for him first." Oh, interesting. It says a dizzying journey through Nigerian mythology. I have not heard about this book, but my youngest picked this one, so that's really interesting. We'll have to see what that's like. I'm sorry, I've got hair all over my mouth. I just kissed my cat, Sylvie. And then my eldest daughter picked this one. So this is called If I Had Your Face by Frances Cha. So it says, "I would live your life so much better than you if I had your face. A troubling kaleidoscope and hugely enjoyable." So interesting. I think I've heard some other booktubers talk about this one. I think it got mixed reviews, but this is the one my eldest daughter picked. It's beautiful with the passion flower on the cover. And then I picked this one. So this is called Self-Portrait with a Ghost. So she has summoned me in to read her life. So what is boring and endless might achieve the grace of plot. Written during the turbulent years of the Trump administration and the first year of the pandemic, this book explores intimacy and isolation, coming of age, and coming to terms with the repercussions of past mistakes, fraying relationships, and surprising moments of connection. It says, Jin's richly textured, unsparing writing questions whether a self can exist unmarked by the past. Short stories. This is a short story collection, so we'll see how we go. I find it very hard with short stories to DNF because I'm like, well, they're all different. Do I just read the whole book? But I think what I might do with short stories is I'll read half of the book and then decide, do I want to take a gamble with the others, or do I want to call it a day? So these are the 3 books that I'll be reading for this mini vlog, and I'll touch base with you when I have read them. Morning. So I'm a little bit worse for where we went out yesterday, and I'm woken up a little lethargic and tired. I'm on my cycle as well, so that always comes into play. It's just going to be lots of warm foods and hot cocoa for me today, and reading. So this morning I already did some reading, and I read 50% of this book here. I'm just trying to make sure, there we go, it's not in the glare. So this was a collection of short stories, and it's not for me. I read 50% and decided to DNF it. The stories themselves were kind of boring and also really confusing. I didn't really understand what was going on in them. The first story is about a woman who's just learned that one of her ex-boyfriends has died, and you go back into the past. They were both artists. He had an obsession with decomposition and things rotting after having an acid trip where he saw everybody in the stages of decay, and he's basically a twat and a bit abusive. So she was sort of going back in past to her time with him, and then to the future where she sort of doesn't really care that he's dead. She's in a really healthy, loving relationship, and she's quite content in her life. But yeah, for me, there was nothing really going on. I didn't find the writing particularly moving or striking. It was very subdued, and the stories themselves didn't really pack a punch for me. So I did read 50% of it. People did say that the last story was the best one, and it had a very everything, everywhere, all at once kind of vibe. But I don't know. I started reading it and it's the same thing. It's just the writing's not for me. So I can't connect to it and it doesn't hit. So I've decided to DNF it. This was my choice from the library based on its cover. So I've already failed. I'm out of the running. So either my youngest daughter or my eldest daughter are going to win. So we'll see which one of them does. I'm going to pick up this one next. This is my favorite cover, to be honest, out of all of them. But my eldest daughter picked it first. So I had to go with my second option. But I just think it's stunning. And I really love the passion flowers on it. So it's very, very pretty. And we'll see how we go with this one. Okay, so I have read 100 pages of this one and I am going to DNF it. I think having the 4 characters, it just stretches the book too thin. I'm not connecting to any of them. It's not going in depth with sort of any of them and what they're doing. Like, it touches upon a lot of different topics like the cosmetics industry and beauty standards and prostitution and sexism. But there's no depth. And as I said before, I just find everything, I don't know, just dull, and I'm not connected to anything in this book or to anyone. So I am going to DNF it at 100 pages. So I didn't have high hopes for this challenge because we're basically just picking 3 random books based on their covers from my library recommended section. So, you know, if I even get one that I finish, I'll be like, all right, great. But so far, these 2 were a fail. I would say this one was better than the book that I read, The Self-Portrait with Ghost. So out of those 2, this one's in the lead. But we'll try my youngest daughter's selection next. I think it was called Dazzling, and see how we go. Hi guys, so let me update you on Dazzling. So I did read 50 pages of this and then I decided to DNF. Unfortunately, it's just not for me. So the book is set in 2 girls' POVs and it goes sort of back and forward in time when they were younger to when they were older. And the POVs written in the kids' point of views were in childish language and grammar, and I just wasn't in the mood for that whatsoever. I was also the pacing was also really slow for me, and I couldn't really understand what was going on. I couldn't really piece together how these stories were meshing into one. So for me, I could tell it was probably going to be a 3-star read. So I decided to DNF it. So this challenge of picking books based on the librarian's recommendations on the shelves was a bit of a fail. I would say that my favorite probably out of the 3 was If I Had Your Face, because I did read that one to 100 pages. But yeah, the stories just weren't for me. So unfortunately, yeah, it was a bit of a fail, but what can you do? But that is everything that I read for this little mini vlog. Until next time, stay wild, Star Child.